So I'm here with Bill Weber at our beautiful golf course. Could you give us a brief bio?
Sure. Basically, my background is engineering and management. Want to go way back. I'm a native Californian. Grew up in Colorado, graduated from high school in Buenos Aires, went to college in Massachusetts, and then came out here and lived in California for the last 50 years. I got my degrees in civil engineering from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Spent 30 years at Hughes Aircraft Company and General Motors, and then I spent the last 20 years here in Rancho Santa Fe, primarily involved in different community activities, such as the golf club, such as San Diego Chamber Orchestra, such as the symphony, such as the YMCA, which is one of the things I think I bring to this position is a lot of experience in nonprofit and community boards.
How have you been involved with the association?
Well, my initial involvement with the association was through the golf club. When I got here, the first thing they did was put me on the long-range planning committee. And at that time, they were starting to plan, they were just doing the renovation of the golf course. And they were starting to plan the renovation of the clubhouses, which we actually completed the clubhouses in 2008. But between 2002 and 2008, I chaired the renovation committee. So we spent the first 3 to 4 years working with the architect and with our members to get a design that the members liked and that we could afford. That was priced the way we wanted it to be. And then spent another 2 years building it and finishing it pretty much on budget and on schedule. After that, I graduated, if you want to call it that, to chairing the long-range planning committee. So I've been doing that for the last 6 or 8 years, which I think is very important. It's a part of my DNA, I guess, is to understand where we want to go and then figure out how to get there. And then the last couple of years, since I've been on the board, the golf club board, first 2 years I was treasurer and also on the audit and finance committee at the association. And this last year I've been president of the club.
Just so I understand, Audit and Finance Committee of the association.
Correct. Well, as treasurer, I chaired the finance committee at the golf club, but an attendant responsibility of the treasurer is to be a member of the Audit and Finance Committee at the association. So we have good communication between the two organizations.
What changes have you seen? What positive, negative changes have you seen in the last, I was going to say 5 years, but it could be, you've been here for a long time, so let's say 20 years. What positive, negative changes have you seen in the ranch since then?
Oh, I think the biggest change is just the change in the population. You see some of our old friends are aging out and we have new people coming in, and I think that's one of the challenges we face coming up is I sense, and I'm not sure this is true, but I sense that there is a little bit of a dichotomy between the longtime and older members of the ranch and the younger families that are moving in here. I think it's one of the things that we really need to do is make sure that we accommodate everybody here and provide the amenities and so forth that each group wants. I understand they may not want the same thing, but I think we can do a better job of accommodating everybody. And that's one of my disappointments in this year's election for the association board is there's nobody, I would say, from the younger generation. No offense to anybody else who's running, but there's nobody from what I would consider the younger generation who's running for the board this year, and I'd like to see that change in subsequent years.
Okay, well, that's a good segue into what would you like to see happen in the next 5 to 10 years in the ranch?
Well, I think there's several things. One is, of course, we're making a huge investment in the fiber optic project, and I think we have to finish that within budget. I think one of the things we should do is not only finish it, but exploit it to the max. In other words, I believe it will have more capabilities than we're really thinking about now, so we should figure out other ways to use it in addition to what is being planned for currently. I think in addition, I think we've got some work to do in improving the communication and the coordination between the different clubs, the golf club, the tennis club, and Osuna Ranch, and the association. In years past, there's been kind of a lack of trust, I'll say, between the organizations, and I've seen in the last year or so kind of a regeneration of that trust, and I'd like to see that continue because, let's face it, the golf course, although it is operated by the golf club, is an amenity for the association, and in one way or another, we all benefit from it, whether it's just in property values or whether you're a golf club member and you enjoy playing on it.
I've heard rumors that there's some interior renovation, exterior renovation being thought of, at least.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, and that's really part of a long-range planning process. We actually have two major planning projects going on right now. One is for the clubhouse and one is for the golf course, and I'll talk about those separately. If you start with the notion that everybody in the ranch is invited to dine at the restaurant here, it really is not only an amenity in the sense that it's a beautiful space, but it's amenity in the sense that it's a restaurant that everybody can enjoy. So our intent is to, what can we do to improve that, to make it an exclusive go-to place for everybody in the ranch? And I think there's two parts to that. One is we want to make sure the food and beverage operation is as good as it can be. And Brad Shoup, our new general manager, has done a great job of bringing in some new staff to help us do that. And then the second thing is, once we are at that point, then let's look at what we can do to make it more inviting. For example, improving the indoor-outdoor spaces, maybe changing the indoor flow so that it accommodates the different demographic groups that I talked about. But I want to point out that right now we're just in the design stage. And by going through this, we're investing in that, but by going through it, we will get a much better idea of what the cost will be, and then we can decide if we want to do it, how we want to do it, do we want to phase it, is the association going to partner with us? You know, that is one thing that we have discussed, is since it is an association amenity, should the cost be shared? And I'm not going to predict what the outcome of that discussion is going to be, but it is a discussion that's ongoing on. And the other part is the golf course. There is a master plan for the golf course. It's supposed to be updated about once every 10 years. We have a major irrigation project that's due to begin in 2021, I think. And if we're going to be tearing up the golf course to replace the irrigation system, there are other things that we ought to be doing at the same time. For example, do we want to improve or change or move the bunkers, for example? Do we want to upgrade the driving range? Those are a number of questions we want to ask. So we've engaged a well-known David McClay Kidd is a world-renowned golf course architect. So his job is going to be the same thing as what we're doing with the clubhouse, is to come up with a plan and offer us, here's what I think you can and should do. Once we have that, then we can look at the cost, decide how we can afford it, if we can afford it, and how we want to phase it throughout time.
So specifically for you yourself, why are you running for the board?
Well, I think I can contribute. I'm a good listener, I think. I'm a problem solver. I'm an engineer. I like to work with people. You know, as I look back on my career, one of the things that I think about is that I've gotten as much or more pleasure from some of my projects from the people I've worked with as I have from the whatever we accomplished. I think working with people is a joy to me, and I think there's an opportunity to work. I look forward to working with people on the association board, working with the association staff.
Rare words from an engineer. You like working with people.
I do.
What would you say is unique about Rancho Santa Fe? What sticks out in your mind as something that is different about Rancho Santa Fe, different from other communities?
Well, I guess what isn't different? I think the differences have lessened. When we first moved here, Rancho Santa Fe was Rancho Santa Fe, and the two terms, Rancho Santa Fe and the Covenant, were more or less synonymous. Over the last 20 years, we have Santa Luz, Fairbanks was here at the time, but we have the Bridges, we have the Crosby, so there's the term Rancho Santa Fe has been somewhat diluted. I think within the Covenant, we still have a uniqueness because of our community, because of the rules of the Covenant that we all signed up for. And I think we can improve on that. I think, for example, I think we can do a better job of branding who we are, discriminating who we are from the other surrounding communities and clubs, so that it will certainly support property values and so on.
Yeah, a marketing campaign to support property values certainly would be nice.
And I think the board this year has started working on that. The golf club has engaged a branding expert to help us in establishing the brand for the restaurant if we decide to make those improvements. And I think that as part of that process, we'll integrate some thoughts from the association too, because obviously we don't want the golf club to be, in a branding sense, different from the association. They need to be together.
Final thoughts?
Well, I think one of my concerns, and I'm not sure that I have an answer for it, but one of my concerns is that, and it's right now it's a positive sign. I think we're in a transition to a more cooperative arrangement among the members and with the board. I think there have been years past when it's been kind of feisty, if you want to use that, and I think unfortunately that kind of environment creates an impedance for people wanting to run for the board. Say, why do I want to put up with that mess? And I think we're overcoming that, and I think we need to overcome that because, as I said earlier, I think one of the things we want to do is to encourage more people to want to run for the board, and particularly people from the younger generations. We have a couple of younger board members at the golf club, and they bring a lot of energy and a little bit different perspective. So they've been a great asset, and I'd like to see the same thing happen at the association.